price for having a free dinner is having to work for it. And the way we're going to work for it is a pleasurable way in that we'll have edification and networking opportunities beyond what we've had. Minister, we had a wonderful conversation last night about the economic impact of this conference. And today we had a similarly fascinating conversation about the diasporic economy, the ways in which the diaspora of the Caribbean constitutes such a significant economic and socio-economic aspect of our being Guyanese or being Caribbean. And one of the common denominators of the conversation yesterday and today, as well prior to yesterday and today, is the opportunities that exist for business, for entrepreneurship, is the interest that exists in knowing about those opportunities. And so we thought, even without knowing that we would have had such an exciting set of interests expressed, in planning the conference we thought, why don't we have a business dinner where we could invite people involved in the business enterprise, both from the public sector and from the private sector. Both from the at home in Guyana and from the beyond Guyana, not necessarily Guyana diaspora. And so I'm delighted that our Honorable Minister of Business, Dominic Gaskin, is here again with us. And I'm equally pleased that one of our region's mega entrepreneurs, Derek Chin, is also here with us with members of his team. And what I'd like to do is to invite the Minister first, followed by Mr. Chin, to share some thoughts, any thoughts they have regarding the subject of doing business, preparing to expand business, challenges and opportunities for businesses and potential business people. But Mr. Nigel Hughes also recognized that there is no such thing as a free dinner. And so he has been volunteered to join that list of people who will share some observations about doing business. And Mr. Ralph Basilio, one of our University of Guyana Education Resource Ambassadors, also didn't want to be left out. So I decided to volunteer Ralph. Ralph, his company has just opened a branch in Guyana. I thought it'd be good to have, from the perspective of a person who is a business person, the diaspora who is now established part of his business here, to have some thoughts about doing business and the business environment and what we can enable others to learn as they want to prospect and expand or establish. So please join me in welcoming first to the podium our Honorable Minister of Business, Honorable Minister Dominic Gaskin.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Distinguished guests, very good evening to you all. And thank you, Vice Chancellor, for the meal. I'm not sure if that makes us even or if I still owe you.
You still owe me.
I still owe you. When I was asked to make a few brief remarks this evening, I wasn't sure what I should say because having made a presentation 2 days ago, I didn't want to come back and bore the same set of people with the same general theme or story or information. But I think I can use this opportunity to, since it's a business dinner, to speak about the business opportunities in Guyana, because we discuss the opportunities for investors in very non-specific ways sometimes. And perhaps I can be a bit more specific about what some of those opportunities are. And while there are many, I'd like to specifically mention the opportunities that our government is interested in promoting. We are, and I think I mentioned it in my remarks the last time around, that one of the strategic objectives of our ministry is to increase Guyana's value-added exports. And this is an area that our government is keen to promote for investment, and that is the value-added sectors. We have not done or performed very well over the last few decades in developing these sectors to their full potential. There are some traditional value-added sectors, such as the forestry product sector and the agro-processing sectors, that are crying out for investments, but also crying out for reforms. We don't waste an opportunity to speak about the importance of the value-added industries and using those industries as a means of creating decent work. But those industries have problems, and we as a government have decided that we want to, sector by sector, examine those industries and see what the real obstacles are to their development, and then assist the industries in developing strategies for each of those sectors. So I believe that investors generally and business people generally like to get an idea or have a clear understanding of what the thinking of the government is, what the government supports, what the government's long-term plans are. And the more we share information, the more we can expect that our investor will be, let me backtrack, because what I think I'm trying to say is, in terms of confidence building measures, I believe it's important that the government share its vision and share its priorities and give a clear indication to the private sector and to the investor community of which sectors it wants to promote. When government says to you that these are the sectors that we want to develop, I believe it sends a strong signal. It tells you something. It tells you that if you are investing in this particular sector, you can look forward to a certain level of government support. So that is what I want to share with you, that there are certain key sectors: agro-processing, forestry sector, tourism sector. If someone could find a way to add value to the 700,000 odd ounces of gold that were exported last year in its unrefined state, I would be over the moon. It's not as easy as it sounds. It's not just a question of a few people getting together and making jewelry. It needs a much more studied approach and it needs a strategy, and so do all the sectors. The business process outsourcing sector is a way of employing large amounts of young people. We've had some studies that have, or some surveys that have shown that the sector can accommodate approximately 30,000 jobs. Currently it employs less than 5,000. So there's potential for growth in that sector. So those are areas that we are very keen to attract investments in. In terms of the diaspora involvement, I believe, as I said at during the last engagement, while there is no particular program in place to either attract diaspora investment or to give the diaspora investors a better shot at any particular opportunity than local investors or other foreign investors. I believe the diaspora does bring to the table certain advantages or certain qualities that give it an advantage. In many of the sectors that are struggling, there's a clear need for expertise that is perhaps not available locally. And therefore, those members of the diaspora who have particular expertise in some of these struggling sectors, we are very happy to engage you directly with a view to finding a way to, or finding a solution for the industries and finding opportunities that are mutually beneficial. We've also had a number of frustrated diaspora, I'm not sure if the word is investors, but individuals and companies who have come to Guyana and who have sought to get involved in different investments. Unfortunately, sometimes the investor is ahead of the government, and in many cases, what some of these investors or potential investors were looking for were actually long-term contractual arrangements, or what can generally be regarded as public-private partnership type arrangements. Unfortunately, in many instances, or in most cases, there was no framework or guideline in place to handle those approaches. We've had a lot of unsolicited approaches that, while flattering, also pose a problem if there are no guidelines, or no framework, or no legislation in place as yet to handle that particular type of arrangement. A lot of those sectors, such as the energy sector, there's a lot of interest in the energy sector. Work is being done in developing a national energy policy. In terms of the public-private partnership arrangements, there is a draft framework that we are looking to finalize that would really make it a lot easier for us to accommodate investor interest in various sectors. So I think I've just shared with you a few random thoughts which I hope you will find useful in some way, but I want to make it clear that we have identified some key sectors that we would like, as a government, would like to see develop, and those are the sectors that our government is going to be supporting, and those are the sectors, therefore, that I believe hold a lot of opportunity for the diaspora investor, especially those who have the kinds of specific expertise that some of those sectors require in order to make successful ventures. The final point I want to make is that when I speak of identifying a few areas that the government is keen to promote, that is by no means meant to be exclusive. There are a number of areas of investment that Guyana has absolutely no experience in whatsoever. And I don't think that's a reason for us not to get involved. So if there are new cutting-edge business sectors that any of you have a particular expertise in or are interested in bringing to Guyana, I can assure you that we have a trainable workforce. And certainly we do need the jobs, and we do need to be involved, to be a lot more involved in new industries. We have not exposed ourselves or been exposed to a number of high-tech type businesses, to the extent that young people in Guyana may have the talent, may have the ambition, but may not necessarily have a good grasp of what is possible and the scale of what is possible. And if you have conversations with young people from different countries, you will find that there are great disparities between the scope of what we here can visualize and can perceive, and the scope of what some of the other young people in some of the more progressive societies can visualize. When they speak of startups, they're talking sometimes of, reaching over $1 billion within the first 10 years. When we talk of startups here in Guyana, we're thinking way, way, way below those kinds of numbers. But we need the kind of influences here and the kind of investors here in Guyana that can help our young people to think just as big as the youth in other countries. We cannot continue to just think on a scale that is perhaps associated with the size of our economy. We need to start thinking big, and that it is not going to happen unless we have influences here or influencers here who can help us to do this. And I know that we have Guyanese in all sectors outside of Guyana who have made tremendous achievements, who have reached the highest levels of their particular industries, and who I believe have a lot that they can give back to Guyana, a lot that they can share with Guyana. And those are the people that we want to attract in business, because these are the kinds of influences and inspirations that we badly need right now, and especially for our younger generation. One final point, there is some urgency when it comes to developing those priority sectors and the value-added sectors of our economy. It needs to happen before we start producing oil, before we get carried away by whatever oil has to offer, the wealth that we are expecting to derive from this new industry. We need to have our economy well diversify, especially the export earning sectors, before we start to produce oil. Otherwise, we will probably lose the interest. And we can see it happening in different ways already, not with oil, but with gold. If you go to certain areas of Guyana's interior, you can't find people, young men, to do any kind of work at standard wages that are paid in Georgetown, for instance. Because they have either already gone out into the gold fields and enjoyed some of the high earnings that industry affords them, and there's no way that you can get them to work any longer for regular standard wages, and that has an influence on the other people, the other young people in those communities who are not going to work for $3,000 a day when they know that their friends are out there in the background making $20,000 a day. So that whole Dutch disease, or whatever it is called, concept that we have been discussing, and the dangers that one very dominant sector, especially if it is a successful sector, can have on your economy is very real. You know, it happens in other sectors, and it can happen in Guyana on a very big scale if we are not careful. So we do need to, as fast as possible and with great urgency, develop those underperforming sectors of our economy. And that is an opportunity that I want to throw out to you, the Guyanese diaspora, not necessarily only those of you seated here tonight, but the Guyanese diaspora in general, that we would welcome an opportunity to engage you on investments in those priority sectors. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. I think we are now even, Vice Chancellor.
Oh, yeah. Let me invite the Minister to field a few questions. If there are questions or comments, we'll take a few here, and then a few over here if there are any. There's a roving mic that'll be going around. Just raise your hand and it'll come to you. Do all the presentations. I think we're even, Minister. We're even. All right. Thank you. Thank you. About 3 months ago, I think it was April 28th, I signed an agreement with Movie Town on some partnerships that Movie Town and the university will be pursuing on solar energy production and on student housing. And I was impressed with the CEO, Mr. Derek Chin, whose company is initially a Trinidadian company but is expanding into the Guyana market and other parts of the Caribbean. Not only was a significant people person, but had a sense of mission, corporate social responsibility, so to speak, that resonated with me. And I'm so delighted that he is back in Guyana and he's able to join us and share a few thoughts. After which, if there are any questions, we hear and he'll take them. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Derek Chin, CEO of I know Mr. Chin will want to tell you a little bit about his business, conglomerate first, and a little bit about himself, before he does whatever else he wants to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor Griffith and Minister Gaskin. I'm happy to be here in Guyana again. I'm becoming now a regular once-a-month visitor, more ways than one. But I think what I would like to do tonight, given that Movie Town is such a a well-known brand even in Guyana, where we haven't started to open a business yet. I'm too taken aback because every time I come, the customs officers and the immigration officers start to fall in love with me. And I don't have to stand up in line too long, which is nice. Now that has happened in Trinidad too, so I don't want to give away the secret. But certainly, there seems to be some degree of excitement, although we really haven't launched any sort of PR campaign yet. It's about to happen, because tonight what I would like to do would be to sort of give you a little idea of, well, what Moving On is and who I am and my journey. A journey that started maybe 35 years ago, to lead me now into Georgetown with our 5th Movie Town Cineplex. The impact it's had on Trinidad and why we felt we wanted to come to Guyana. I mean, other than the fact that they want me to always say I'm a returning son of the soil and not so much a Trinidadian investor. But I was born in Guyana way back when. And of course, with the events that took place in the 1960s, we migrated to Trinidad. And of course, I became a Trinidadian and felt that I would try to do my best, because as Chancellor said, and the Minister, that a lot of Guyanese come to Trinidad and have done exceptionally well, whether they're airline pilot, whether they're insurance brokers, and doctors and lawyers. And strange enough, they seem to have a latent talent that all over the world now, you see them, and I do visit Toronto quite often, and there are Guyanese all over the place and doing very well. So I felt it might be interesting and maybe informative at this time for this opportunity to sort of give you a little idea of my journey. Very simple, and where it has taken me to, and how I would think I need to build on that. As many times one questions where you really want to go in your life. But as you get older, you get quieter and you start to think a little deeper. And I think that's what has helped in a way to make the decision to come to Guyana and see where that takes us. But it's been a wonderful journey for me. I never anticipated that I would be sort of catapulted to where I am today, that I can access ministers. Now let me say, not that I'm politicizing and the government, but the ministers in this government have been very receptive. I have not had to wait more than 5 minutes to see any of them. And I have gone and said, when I talk to the Trinidadian ministers, who like to keep you 5 hours. So you have an advantage right off the bat. But I must say, coming to Guyana, yes, we're coming as investors and so on, and of course they will try to facilitate us. But exceptionally warm, and I hope it keeps that way, right through. And very, very attentive and very willing to help. And and this is what has helped us to say, we made the right decision. Now, I go back in time and I went to school in Canada. I graduated with a business degree at the University of Western Ontario. And like every kid coming out of university and graduating, you want to change the world, but you don't have much money in your pocket, you don't know what to do. And at that time, I went out to trying to find a business, got a job as an accountant, but I didn't like it. Dad wanted me to be an accountant, so that's what most people do, they try to please their parents at that time. So I always started to be looking around, and I think that's what made me an entrepreneur, because you're very observant, you're very sensitive to things, you look around and you see what people are doing. And my first business, when I decided to leave the accountancy position, was in Trinidad. When I returned, and I joined the same company I was working for in Canada. It's Pete Margaret Mitchell, which is KPMG today. And I was lucky because business and success is all to do with timing. And I got into a simple little business. It didn't take much to do what I did. It was put a coin in a amusement machine, Pac-Man, and it became very popular. And I became known as the video king, right? And that was my first business, and it was called Games World. I used to know that, and maybe it happens at the airports here, where when one person is going away, and the whole village turns out to wave them, or the whole village turns out to welcome them. And there was nothing to do in the airports. So I saw that as an observation and an opportunity, and I got into the video arcade business. Very simple, and it was called Games World. And strange enough, it was, when I look back in time, the first game I started was a video game called Kitty Rama. So you put a coin in the machine and a little Popeye cartoon comes out, and the little kid would sit down there and enjoy this 2-minute cartoon. Stranger, that little video game became to where I am now in a multiplex, cineplex, movie-going business. And that business did very, very well because I was moving from the mechanical time, when you had to, you shoot little bullets or little targets on in a machine, and it was all mechanical, to the point now that when I started in 1984, we were at the advent of asteroids, Atari, Nintendo, that was all coming, and I was the only one in Trinidad that really saw it and did it. And it wasn't easy because I didn't have a lot of money. I had to borrow and I had to make all kind of lies to get a little help, and within the first year it did very, very well. I had to actually close doors and keep people out, which was a very, very good sign. And from that business and that confidence that I acquired from that, I started to spread out in terms of, when you have these video games and you have these kids and so on and so forth coming in large numbers, you will have security issues. So I started a security company called Telecom. And it's now one of the biggest security companies in Trinidad. Next, I think you have amalgamated here, we're second and third to them. And I do a lot of armored car work. On top of that, I got involved, I was talking to Paloma and telling how I love horses, and even when my father and my grandfathers were here in the old Demerara Chapter, we used to have horses then. And I used to love the horses just because of the type of animals they were. So I got involved with horse racing in Trinidad, became president and a chairman of the clubs eventually. And I started a game, because they always never had money, I started a game that was called the Jackpot 6, which is now what we have in Trinidad called the National Lottery, National Online Lottery. And I tied up with it, again, researching and finding out what works, what isn't works. And I started the online lottery in Trinidad, which is contributes something like 1.6 billion TT dollars to the economy every year. So that was another one of my successes and interventions. Of course, going into the online system, I had my security company, I had the arcade business. I then started to go to visit Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas I would see these big electronic boards. I said, wow, MGM, And I said, maybe that could work in Trinidad too. So I bought one board, and it didn't work. So I said, well, maybe this is my first real, non-success story. But I said, maybe give it one more try, and I repositioned it. I tied up with a company called Daktronics, which is one of the largest US companies in this business. They do these scoreboards you see in football matches and so on. Very, very big. And I started to say, you know what, I'm going to try again. And I'm going to try again, and I did. And I put the sign this time on a home on the highway, and then everybody saw it, and everybody started to, well, this is a good idea, let me advertise. So everybody started to buy time on the boards, and it became another success. And I call that company SciTech, and I'm now one of the leading online and digital boards. I've done the boards in St. Lucia for the cricket. I've done the World Cup boards in Islands in Trinidad when they had the Junior World Cup. I did the Queen's Park Oval and so on and so forth, the National Stadium. And right now it's kind of dried up, things have got a little tough in Trinidad, and there's not much business happening. But we do have a network of boards, and I still advertise. Even in my movie towns, we have digital boards now. So that became another success story. It's still around. And of course, in trying to sell advertising time, and I did most everything on my own. I didn't have a big staff at that time. And I started to look at advertising movies on these boards, and that's how I started to find out a little bit more about what a cineplex was. At the time, the person told me, why don't you look at the cineplexes? This was like in the 2000 era. And I said, well, what's a cineplex? It was that bad. And I said, a mathematical thing, it's something very, very, very sophisticated. And I started